So, when you're done there, could you say again what you were feeling when we stepped out into the...
Yeah. Well, when we paid, the second I got out on the land and looked over to the left and saw the ruins, I just had an immense, overwhelming sadness hit me. And we proceeded on to the kitchen where we saw a presentation, listened to the woman doing her presentation about who the monks were, the cooking aspects and that sort of thing. And then as we walked out, there was a piece of a ruin that was a gateway to a walkway to the church, evidently, and I just had to go inside there. And the second I went in, I teared up a lot, just feeling that sadness. Mysterious, because it's not linked to any particular knowing of one thing. I'm learning a bit about the history here and read a bit about it, but it was just an existential, overwhelming sadness that hit me.
Yeah.
Being on this land and seeing these amazing ruins and just feeling the energy of the place, and at the same time, just immense beauty.
Yeah. Yeah, could you hold this and just put it on me for a second? I'll say a couple of things also. Yeah, I think learning about the history of this place in England, which, as Sanji over here to our side was saying to us, is really the spiritual heart of the country. I think, wouldn't you say, Sanji, that that's really widely acknowledged by people in England who have a spiritual awareness that this is the heart of the land?
There would be a lot of people who would acknowledge that.
A lot of people would agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, there's just so many legends. You've got the legend of Joseph of Arimathea coming, and the first pilgrim, the first Christian hermit settling on the hill, the tall hill. Then you've got the abbey, which was huge. One of the main spiritual houses. And then who knows what legends and stories from before then.
Celtic and Druids and so on.
So long history of spirituality, and that it just keeps bringing each generation here to rediscover it and recreate it in a way for themselves.
Yeah, there's just for me, I think so much the sense of, particularly in a place like this where these great structures have obviously fallen into ruin, and they were dedicated clearly to humanity's quest for the divine and desire to be in attunement and to be rightly related to the divine source and the truth of being. And what we've all gone through for all these millennia, hundreds of generations, and how much of that time has been making enemies of one another and of all parts of our existence. Linda was talking about feeling the stifling and suppression of one whole aspect of the spirit on the assumption that another aspect is superior. It's just a sense of the weight of that, and yet also the new life over springing up.
Because the monasteries kept the flame of spirituality alive through what's called the Dark Ages.
That's right.
When the Roman Empire fell apart.
That's right.
The hordes of barbarians.
Right.
It was a very dark time
That's
in
right.
history. And the churches were what kept the learning and they're the only places that you can read and write. They had the Bible, they had writings, spiritual writings, and they were the kind of beacons of light in a very dark landscape.
Yeah, that's right. There's a great book that was written some years ago by an Irishman named Thomas Cahill. They've written similar books about the Hebrews and so forth, but the one about the Irish was called something about the people that saved civilization.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Because they
They kept the learning.
kept the learning and kept the texts alive, copied them out by hand from one generation to the next, and that was all done through the monasteries.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So at the same time that there was suppression and so on, there was also this keeping the flame alive.
And it wasn't just book learning, it was also that they were the scientists.
That's right.
They were experimenting with new forms of agriculture
right.
and fishery and
That's right.
sort of preserving the land.
Yeah.
So, and architecture.
Yeah. Yeah.
The learning, the whole learning of the
Magnificence
culture
of
was
this
sort
whole
of
place.
the size, when you look at the size of that, and then there was a tower up there. And
Yeah.
this was the whole church from back there, the high altar, right down to
All the
there.
way
You
down.
know, this is
Yeah,
the size of it. It's just incredible.
amazing.
At the time when people were living in houses,
Yeah.
which,
Little mud huts.
yeah, extraordinary.
And then King Henry VIII came along and for his various purposes destroyed all this and dragged the abbot up on the tour, which I guess is
It's just over there. We could see it. It's when we was in the abbot's kitchen, you could just see it through the TV.
Yes.
and
No, it's-
executed him and a couple of his top monks to be able to take all this over and do with it what he would. So just the whole saga marching on. And here we come with our present day contribution and
And yet,
hopefully moving toward a time when, and Ken Wilber likes to point out, we've made some progress here. Slavery is at least officially outlawed all over the earth. And maybe warfare and the killing of one another will come next at some point. Quest for peace, which starts in the heart. So,
Thank you, my love.
you're welcome. Thank you. Sanji was just, we were just commenting on the fact that it was also a good cause for Henry VIII to do what he did, and there was a lot of corruption and distress over the power that the church held over people. So nothing is just black and white in the history of humanity. We're all shades of gray. As soon as we can get that clear in ourselves and with one another, we'll probably find that a lot of the violence comes to an end.